This is ex-Muslim Abdullah Samir, pretty much a troll online, a narcissist by nature, tries to proclaim to everyone that he is such a good guy and how he's different from the rest of the ex-Muslims. Well, he is okay. It just depends on his attitude. If you press him, discuss atheism, well, you're not going to go on his good side. If you start debating him, he's going to get really upset and annoyed and frustrated. Especially when you start making moral issues an issue for atheism. I recently asked him a question which pretty much ticked him off, and I wanted to push him to see if this man is really a respectful person. Is he really true to his word? Is he different from the rest of the ex-Muslim apologists? Well, I put him to the test. He actually seemed fair, a really nice guy, but I knew that there was something a bit more sinister about him. So I basically tested him. I asked him a question, since atheism doesn't have a moral code. Anything goes, as they say. I had his friend Abdullah Gondal. So Abdullah Samir's friend Abdullah Gondal, another ex-Muslim, was actually rationalizing incest and bestiality. He actually said if you do a humping action next to an animal, it actually gives them the consent for you to hump it. So if the animal is interested, you can actually hump it. That's Abdullah Gondal. Let's have a look at his comment. So here I said to Abdullah Gondal, so answer me, according to your atheist worldview, would you support anyone having sex with a donkey if the animal shows signs of sexual consent and behavioral consent? Abdullah Gondal goes on to say, I'd say it's nothing productive at all concerning sex with animals. He says, as long as the animal and you aren't being harmed, it's fine. How do you define the animal is consenting is a key, like humping motion. But apart from that, our social biases against it, I don't really see anything wrong with it. So this ludicrous person thinks that he questions, how do we know whether an animal consents? Maybe we need to go next to it and start doing the humping motion. He also considered having incestual relationships is morally okay in a hypothetical situation in the future. So seeing that Abdullah Samir is Abdullah Gondal's colleague, I thought they'd share similar views since they're both atheists and ex-Muslims, and their moral values would probably be the same, given the fact that they're both atheists and they appeal to the same secular liberalism. Abdullah Samir basically tried to make fun of Islam to say, oh look, you stone people who commit adultery. He also mentioned, how can it be rational that Muslim men can take more than one wife? And of course, vice versa. Why not women taking more than one wife and so forth, one husband and so forth? So as he was beginning to question and make fun of Islam, I raised him a question, knowing that he's Abdullah Gondal's same colleague, friend. So I'll just paraphrase what I said from the top of my head. I said to him something like, Abdullah Gondal, since you have a wife, you want to make fun of adultery and, you want to take it lightly and say, oh, look, Islam stones adultery. Well, on the flip side, secularists, if they believe in the atheistic moral values and the atheistic worldview, they don't really have a problem with women. And I spoke specifically about his wife, and I asked him a question. I said, how would you feel if your wife went and, screwed 12 other men? You'd probably watch it and look at it according to the atheistic liberalistic worldview. Because the atheistic liberalistic worldview doesn't condemn such a behavior so long as it's consenting adults. And I asked him, is he part of that view, basically? I wasn't actually insulting him or his wife. I was actually asking him, is he part of the view? Would he give his wife that liberation if she requested that sort of behavior? So I was basically testing him to see whether he believes in the atheistic, liberalistic mentality of freedom of rights and to give people freedoms to do what they want, to go that low, to, go and watch your wife have sex with 12 other men. See, Abdullah may disagree with it, but he can't actually say it's absolutely wrong. For example, if I was an atheist and I wished to use my wife as a prostitute to other men, Abdullah can't even say it's wrong, not even if I wanted to use my daughter and sell her to other men as a prostitute. So you see the atheistic morality. So I wanted to push Abdullah and ask him, and I said, what's the logic of allowing your wife to get screwed by 12 other men in an atheistic, secular, liberalistic worldview in sex orgy gatherings? And I made it clear, I said, please don't take offense. I didn't say you would allow it, or I'm not saying that your wife is a whore. I'm just asking, would you allow it under secular moral values? Since this is the superior West, and the Westerners believe in the Enlightenment. Yet these people want to have a go at stoning adulteresses and find it illogical. Of course, all Abdullah Samir could say is that he disagrees with it, but he can never, he personally disagrees to allow his wife, or anyone else for that matter, but however, he never can condemn the action for all other atheists. So when I exposed him on his Western enlightenment and morality, he got pretty nasty very quickly. Now let's see how a good boy he is. Have a look at this comment. He says, I left Islam because it's a bag of shit. He says, a scented bag of shit. This is Abdullah. I posted him a video response to see whether he could give me a rational counter response to that. I was being polite. He made a video against Yasser Gade about him doubting Islam. I did a counter-response video. And look at Abdullah Samir's response. He says, 35 minutes of verbal diarrhea. I mean, look at the respect. Verbal diarrhea? He even went to the stage where he said, F Islam. As you can see, I asked him, why did you say F Islam? And he says, I was being nasty. He says he's sorry. Now, what is even more disturbing is that this guy messages me and tells me that he wants to set a standard for the rest of the ex-Muslims on how to act morally when it comes to preaching to Muslims. Have a look. I asked him a question. I said, not many out there who can be respectful, because I thought he was respectful. And he basically says, yeah, hopefully more will follow. I wish to change the ex-Muslim community to be more respectful. Many of them have a lot of resentment and anger. I am trying to be a leader here and show people that we can dialogue respectfully. He says, although sometimes I fail on this too. So he's trying to set a standard as a leader to the rest of the ex-Muslims on how to dialogue with Muslims respectfully. Yet, you saw the messages. May I remind you one more time of his respect? He says 35 minutes of verbal diarrhea to one of my video responses. In fact, this man's sinister and hypocrisy is absolutely sickening. I posted him a comment where his friend called Abdullah Gondal was actually being totally disrespectful by laughing and mocking my dawah and so forth. And you can see it here. I posted this to Abdullah Samir, And Abdullah Samir says regarding his friend Abdullah Gandal, he says, yeah, I'm disappointed with that last message of his. I hope he gets more mature. I don't feel this approach is very good. So Abdullah Samir condemns Abdullah Gandal for his immaturity, for not being mature enough, and his approach is not very good and it's disappointing. Yet Abdullah Samir is a hypocrite himself. In fact, is probably worse than Abdullah Gandal with his disgusting, bigoted, vile comments, which exposes his true nature. Now, Abdullah Samir actually tried to delete his comments because he was so embarrassed, but he didn't see that I was one step ahead of him and I saved the screenshots and the comments. So then he messages me telling me how he's so sorry about his nasty comments. Let's have a listen. I have an audio.
Yeah, I sometimes do this where I act like a dick back to people, and then I feel bad after it. I'm like, why did I act like that? I shouldn't act like that. It's not like me. Anyways, I shouldn't have said that stuff. I feel bad now. Sorry.
So this is the face of the hypocrite who literally backstabs his own friends, pointing the finger at them that they're not being morally right and correct, for being disrespectful. Yet behind the scenes, you see his actions and his disrespect. At the same time, he wants to act like the leader to change the way ex-Muslims speak. And he wants to show everyone how he could be the leader on how to do good behavioral examples when discussing his beliefs with Muslims. So don't ever believe these ex-Muslims when they want to act all civil and humanitarian and they want to act pious and in good behavior, in good faith, when their actions are a lot more sinister with hate and hypocrisy.